Okay, hi guys. So today's video to start off 2021, I'm gonna be telling a very long overdue story. And that story is my adoption story, my story of abandonment, my crack baby story. They all kind of in one. So a lot of people have been asking me to do this in my personal life and online on my other social medias, which y'all should follow by the way. Um, but as other YouTubers say, without further ado, if you guys are interested in hearing my story of being abandoned and how I made it here today, keep watching. Um, so, disclaimer, well, not really a disclaimer, but I am in my boyfriend's shirt. By the background, I'm in my boyfriend's house. Um, and I literally turned on all the lights because I was like, there's no good lighting. And now there's like hella lighting. So, despite that, here we go, my adoption story. Um, so, starting from the beginning, um, I'm I guess I should explain the entire story which leads up to me. So my birth family, my biological family is from Colorado. Um and I not I, but my biological mother, she is a product of like almost 10 kids, I believe. Um, and so my biological mother, she had my oldest brother. I'm not gonna say any of their actual names because I want to start a series about the adopted life or whatever. Um, so I don't want to put their real names in there. So we're just gonna call my oldest brother D. So D was born. Okay, actually, I lied. I super lied. Um, sorry. My oldest sister, the oldest out of all six of us, um, who I'm named after. Our names aren't the same, but they are. We have the same middle name and damn near the same first name. But my oldest sister was born, and then a few years later, maybe like 2 years later, I think my oldest brother D was born. Um, and as far as I know, those two they were put in like foster cares and just like a lot of different situations just because my biological mother didn't never need she didn't need to have kids. All of her kids she abandoned. All of her kids were in foster care at some point. Like she wanted to keep partying and drinking and doing all that type of shit. So she never really she didn't want kids. So those two were in foster care and then eventually they were adopted by our grandmother. Um, and then next, I believe within this time period, this is when my biological mother started doing crack and other drugs, hardcore drugs. Um, and then my second oldest sister, Jay, was born. She was a crack baby and she was abandoned in the hospital the day she was born. So grandmother, we call her Granny. Granny ended up taking her in. Then my second oldest brother, we're gonna call M. He was born. I don't know his entire story, um, but as far as I know, that he was born in Oklahoma, I believe. And let me add that on like a boop side note. But our biological mother was in and out of jail a lot, so she would get in trouble out in Colorado. Fuck it, I'm going to Oklahoma. Went to Oklahoma, got in trouble out here. She went like back and forth. Um, so he was born here, and I believe that she raised him up until he might have been about 3 or 4, I believe. Um, and then one day she took him to the park and abandoned him there. Just, hey, I'll be right back. Never came back. Um, so he ended up being adopted by our grandma. Um, and then a few years later in Oklahoma, um, my brother closest to my age was born. He's a whole story time on its own, and we literally like fist fought the first day we met. That's a whole story on its own, which is coming. But he was born. She didn't. She his dad was a big pimp or whatever in Oklahoma. Um, so our biological mother had my brother, and then when his dad got locked up, she messed with his best friend, and that's where I came from. Um, yeah. So now we get to me. Um, and I know, like, I feel like I'm like making this so lighthearted, and honestly, I am, just because this is a very sensitive topic for me. This is something that it's hard. I'm grateful, but it's hard to process and think about a lot of things, etc. So, anyways, um, so here I come, little Miss Lakeisha. So I was born January 15th, 1998. Um, and what I know is that my biological mother had me in the hospital. I've heard stories where she was told not to bring me home by a dude that she was dating. And also, let me add this in, everyone from my second oldest sister, so literally the last four of us were all crack babies. Um, and I was, like I said, we were all crack babies. That includes me. So I was a crack baby. The day I was born, that night, she escaped the hospital, and I believe she got arrested a few days later or something. Um, but they were trying to figure out, where do I go? Where did she go, more like? What other family do I have? Because my family isn't originally from here. Like, she was one of the only ones to be down here. Everyone lives in Colorado. So, um, I spent, I believe, a week or two maybe in detox, or I can't think of the term right now, but I was in, they were trying to get rid of like the crack cocaines and other shit in my system. Um, and I was a small baby. I was a little baby. But my people, my family, were all shorter people. So that kind of plays a factor in it too. But I was like real little bitty. I was told by my biological mother I was born with a lot of hair and all of that. So can't find the family, or working on finding the family, I guess. So I was put in foster care, and a woman who I don't know took care of me first. She was my first foster mother. I don't know who she was because I was literally like maybe a month old. I was like a month old to almost 2 months old, I think. Um, so anybody watching this, if you are the woman that fostered, maybe you remember, but if you fostered me, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, you are a blessing. Like, you helped me get to where I am today. You helped save a baby's life, so thank you. But then this is where my parents come in. I don't want to cry, because this story makes me cry because of my parents' love for me. But my parents got me as their foster baby when I was 2 months old. They had been foster parents, and they were foster parents up until I was about 13 or 14 maybe. But they got me, and my mom said that like the first day, she said that she just fell in love with me. Like, my mom has one son, and she didn't necessarily want to have any more kids. Her and my dad were completely fine with, like, he's grown, they're just gonna live their lives. And she says something about me made her want to, like, she felt like she was my mother. Like, it made her want to have another child. My parents were older. My dad was in his 50s, and my mom was in her mid 40s. And so I was their foster baby, and they literally, based on what my parents have told me, they I don't want to cry. Um, mm, they treated me like their daughter. Um, so the story with my biological family was people were trying to get me, and they're in Oklahoma. There's strict laws about babies born here. And so one of my aunts tried to get me, and she was denied for certain reasons. And so other family members were not in the state situation, whatever, to be raising a baby. Um, Neither were my siblings. Like it, I love my family, but like it is a little bit of a mess. And everybody in the family know that too. But yeah, like so up until when I became about a year old, um, my mom was able to adopt me. Like they couldn't find any like actual family, um, or whatever. So my parents were able to adopt me, um, and they raised me my entire life. Like my, let's not cry again, poor favor. Um, I was raised by some amazing people. Like, not all parents are perfect, um, you know, but yeah, I was raised by some really amazing people. Um, they gave me the world. They tried to give me the world. So yeah, um, I'm not gonna say much more than that. When I'm in the mood to really cry about it, I will make a whole video where I'm like comfortable crying and all that on camera. But um, but yeah, so the next part of the story is when I was about 12, 11 or 12, my parents told me that I was adopted. They told me that, you know, I was a baby just left in the hospital and I was a crack baby and all of that kind of stuff. And I was so hurt. Like, I remember feeling like it not only wasn't like a punch in your chest, it, I don't know. It wasn't even like a knife through the heart type of pain. It was like, I can't explain it. It was like, I really can't explain the type of pain it was. Not because I was adopted, but because my biological mother didn't want me. Um, and years later, I come to confirm that true. Um, which is something I'm still dealing with today. But I spent years like suffering, and by suffering I mean just like a big question mark of like not knowing where I came from, you know what I mean? And wanting to know why did she leave me? Like what I kept thinking to myself, like what was wrong with me? Like what's wrong with me to where you wouldn't want a newborn baby that just came into the world and doesn't know anything and is so innocent. Like, I'm getting really emotional because drugs do some terrible things to people. Um, that's why I feel so much empathy for other kids that were abandoned too. Because I get it. I was abandoned, so I get it. But I was just so lost. And then when I got to college, I started to accept it because I started doing pageants and I did a monologue based off of my story. My platform was about adopting children, um, and all of that. But I think maybe I remember like freshman year, maybe sophomore year, I had asked my parents like, hey, what information do you have about my biological parents? Because I wanted to figure out what was going on. I wanted answers. So, I looked up what they had given me. My parents are so supportive of my decision. My parents, y'all, when I say some amazing people, oh my goodness. But um, I actually didn't look into it a lot deeper until maybe 2 years later. Um, like junior year of college, I want to say. Or my first year as a junior, I should say. But I looked up names associated with my biological mother's name, and I saw my oldest sister's name. Like I said, her name is extremely similar to mine. Um, okay, let me give you an example. I'm Lakeisha LeKay. For example, this isn't her name, but she was Lakasha LeKay or whatever. I was like, if this isn't my sister, I'm crazy. So I found her on Facebook, and she doesn't really use Facebook. So I sent a message, and she didn't respond until months later, and was like, "Oh my God, like." Granny always said you would find us and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And then I just started connecting with the rest of my family, started meeting everybody. I met my grandmother, and if you're I forgot about this detail, but my grandmother was not able to adopt me, just because she was already close to her 70s. Like, she was in her 60s when I was born. So she was considered too old. Um, and it's a sad but like true fact that goes in the rules of adoption. Like, you have to be under a certain age. Um, but like I said, like, I just started connecting with everybody, and I was so happy. I was so happy. My auntie flew me out to Denver, where they were, and I got to see the people that I look like. I got to see the people that I just come from. Like, I was so happy the first time I went out to Denver. Um, it was amazing. It really, really, really was. Um, I was so happy. So, ever since then, like, I've been trying to, like, stay connected to my family, and I plan on moving out there. Um, One, because that area is just a really good area for business and money wise. Like, there are a lot of jobs out there. Um, but like, I wouldn't mind like being out there with my family, because like, y'all, I actually have nieces and nephews that are like younger in their little babies, and I have a bunch of cousins that I can like hang out with, and aunts and uncles that to go to like dinner with, or just to see, and family like come together and do things. And like, even though like a lot of people fight, a lot of people have issues, um and by a lot of people, I'm also like throwing myself in that category too, because like, I do not get along with like almost half of my siblings. And yeah, um I really only talk to one of my brothers. My oldest sister does not talk to me. My middle sister is a special case, which I don't know if I want to go talk about that in another video or not. Um, it really depends. But my middle sister, like, we kind of talk, but I don't know. Um, the brother under her, he is, he's probably a whole video on his own too. Um, and that, I might not make a video about that. I don't know. Because it's very sensitive information for me and my family. But currently, where I don't, no one knows where he is. But, and then the brother after him, That's the brother I fought. That is a whole video on its own, like I was saying earlier. But I went out to Denver earlier last summer, summer of 2020. And it was so, like, I just fell in love with Colorado. Like, I did. Like, I loved it out there. Like, I love the fact that I'm part of like a family. And even though like my adopted family, I hate saying that cuz that is my family. You know what I mean? Um like it's nice cuz the family I was like raised with and grew up with, not a lot of we didn't have a lot of family gatherings and stuff, and like I didn't everyone was older, so I didn't really have people close to my age. But like my biological family, like I get to help raise my nieces and nephews, and oh, like that's the aspect of like family that I really like. You know what I mean? Like it has that. Um, and there's some really amazing people in that family too. Shout out to my cousin James. Follow his Playa podcast. Honestly, shout out to my brother D. Um, if he ends up watching this, like you, I have a lot of like love for you. Shout out to my cousin Sid. Um, shout, man, the list can go on, but yeah. So it feels really good because now it feels like Keisha as a whole. I now know like most of my whole story. Um, and not only does that motivate me to not be like my biological mother, who I've met, and that will be a separate video on its own. So guys, subscribe if you guys want to see these videos. So you can like get notifications when they drop and stuff. Because the biological mother one is that's very emotional. But yeah, it makes me like happy. You know, it makes me motivated that I'm not. It makes me motivated to not repeat a lot of mistakes that have been previously made in my family. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just a happy duck. Okay. Um. So yeah, guys, that is my adoption story. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. It took me a while to make this video because it's such an emotional and sensitive topic for me. Because like guys, like just imagine, like some people can't even imagine somebody abandoning them as a baby. You know what I mean? Um it's a lot of emotions and a lot of things involved in this story, which is why I'm gonna do separate videos for you guys. Um, you guys, okay. Do separate videos and stuff to explain different parts, and also, I feel like I'm helping give the perspective of like somebody that was adopted. You know what I mean? I don't see a lot of people on YouTube tell their adoption stories. I don't see a lot of those videos. So I'm like, let me start something new. But I need to go to my mama's house because it's trying to rain in Oklahoma and I'm not doing it. Also, I'll put in the description the link to me, Brent Taylor, and Doughboy's video if y'all are interested in that. Um, so yeah, that was my adoption story, guys. At the end of the day, I'm very thankful and I'm very blessed that somebody had the compassion to save me. Um, and that keeps me pushing forward. But yeah, so make sure you guys like this video if you like the video. Make sure you subscribe first and foremost, okay? Period. And then if you guys know someone that's adopted, or if you're adopted, drop your story in the comments. I want a community. I want a community of like people that were adopted and all of these different things so we can like connect and share stories and make ties. So I will see you guys on my next video. Make sure you subscribe. Bye.